Hello, this is Elyse from Miss McKenna's Life Leverage, and today I'll be taking you through my spread for January. But first, I thought I'd show you a quick flip through of December. On my monthly page, I use the extra space in the side to note down what days my shop will be shut for Christmas and New Year. And I just used a little colour-coded block to represent the days that we're closed so that it doesn't distract too much from appointments and things. And I think I'll use this method for the school holidays in 2018 because I found it worked really well. This next page was my mood tracker. I found that I experience several different mood levels throughout the day, so sometimes I fill the glasses with two different colours. I did enjoy using this spread, so I'll probably use it again at some point, but I'm trying something different for January. I also experience irregular periods, so I just used some small dots to represent when I was on because I'm hoping that that will help me work out what my cycle is. I never actually got round to filling my goals page, which is a shame because I think that if I had, I would have done better with it. But I'm skipping a goal for January because I've got quite a lot planned, so I don't want to put unneeded added pressure on myself. I found my business tracker really helpful, but I didn't use the money out and number of customers sections, so I've got rid of those for January. For my tracker, I added numbers in the boxes for how many times I do something or for how many hours I spent doing something. And I blocked out any days that something didn't apply on, like for the school run in the holidays and weekends. And if I made any mistakes, I just used a little arrow to show which box should have been filled. And I was also rubbish with my meditating and even worse with my miracle morning. So I know that's something that I need to work on. Oops. And then on my Brain Buzz page, I just wrote down some early ideas that I had for my ultimate motivational spread and my task for the month. And then we're just onto the weeklies. I used a variety of page layouts, which gave me a really good idea of what does and doesn't work for me, which made planning January much easier. So I found that experiment really helpful. And then finally, we have my few lines a day pages, which I filled out at the end of every day. I added some colour throughout the month, and I tried to alternate background colour to section off each day, which I will do for the rest of the spread because it makes it easier to differentiate each day. And so that's the end of December. I have decided to move into a new book for January, even though that was the beginning of that book, and I'm going to use that book for testing different things and trying different layouts. So now we are on to my 2018 bullet journal. So at the beginning of this book, I've got my pages for my ultimate motivational spread. If you haven't seen my video for that, I've linked it in the description below. And this collection is full of pages where I've given myself different ways to motivate, uplift and inspire myself if I need a little boost or some encouragement. And they all focus on self-love, positivity and appreciation. I've not filled them out yet because I want to dedicate some quality time where I can relax and think about what I want to write so that the pages will be as effective as possible. And as requested, when I filled them all out, I will upload a video of a flip through. So now we're on to my January spread. I've given myself a title page to introduce me to the month, and I've chosen an Alice in Wonderland theme because I feel like 2018 will be filled with adventure and new experiences. And I'm toying with the idea of making some big life changes, which can be quite scary and would push me out of my comfort zone. So I feel like Alice is quite relatable in that sense. And to me, she represents going with the flow and taking each step as it comes. And it also reminds me that life is an adventure. Anything can happen. Life can change in an instant. So I wanted to remind myself to keep my eyes open to all the new opportunities and potential for development and growth. I honestly believe that the purpose of life is joy, and I want to create the most fulfilling and rewarding life for myself that I can. So that's what I'm focusing on this year. I also want to focus on really developing this channel for you all. And as I don't have any previous experience with filming, editing, internet exposure, and all the other moving parts that come with a YouTube channel, it's going to mean I need to do quite a lot of work and development on it because I've got a lot to learn. But I'm really enjoying making these videos for you, and I've had such a wonderful response. And I think the best way I can show my appreciation is by striving to give you the best content that I can. It's been so rewarding to hear that people have benefited from my ideas and to know that I've uplifted and inspired some of you, because that's really what I want the heart of this channel to be. To create this page, I use my Staedtler pigment liner because I always love the result from this pen, and I wanted to use something I could trust for the title page, but I do change my pen for the rest of the pages because I wanted to try something a bit different. I used Pinterest and Google image search for some inspiration. I think it's a really good idea to pick a theme because then you're not trying to think of new ideas for each page throughout the month. It gives you a sort of blueprint to follow for the month, which also means that it's easier to recognise the different months when you're flipping back through. I also just love the idea of a new theme because it feels like a fresh start and it gives me a chance to indulge my creative side. So here I changed the pen to a V5 hi-techpoint, and I was really happy with the result. It writes really smoothly and just flows nicely, and it comes out super black. Plus I didn't find any feathering or bleed through, so I was really happy with this pen and I'll definitely keep using it. I kept a similar layout for my monthly spread because I found December's spread worked really well for me. I had enough space to fit all the things I needed, and because I gave myself lots of space to decorate, I really enjoyed coming back to this page every Monday when I planned the week ahead. So I feel like it made me a little bit more productive because it actually encouraged me to use it. And I used clocks and cakes in this spread to decorate, and some playing cards so that it kept with the Alice in Wonderland theme. I've actually had a few requests to do some flip throughs of my previous bullet journal spreads, but I only actually started bullet journaling in December. I tried pre-made planners but never stuck to them, so then I just used to use scraps of paper and notepads to plan, which really didn't work, and then I tried bullet journaling. So I have nothing to show you all. But once I've compiled some more spreads and layouts and things, I will do a flip through for you. The good thing about that is because I've not been bullet journaling for very long, I haven't found the exact layout that works perfectly for me yet, and I really like variety and trying new things. So hopefully in a few months I'll have lots of different ideas to show you. Oh, and I did want to mention before I forget that when I used my tombows on top of this pen, it did smear a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's because I used it too quickly after I'd drawn it, or if this pen just smears, but that is something to bear in mind. So here we have my new mood tracker. I've made a mini calendar, and each box is 3 squares wide because I'm going to do morning, midday and evening sections, and I'll fill it in like a bar graph so that I can put the intensity of each feeling on the bottom. And I've got my boxes to signal what each colour is, and rather than rate my mood between 1 and 6 like last month, I'm going to list actual feelings like happy, inspired, productive, sad, stressed and so on, and I might add different initials for different activities like an M for meditation or O for organising, that sort of thing, and then I can see if that affected how I was feeling. I think this spread would be really useful for someone who might suffer with depression or anxiety because it would give you a more accurate indication of triggers and things that affect your mood. And then at the end of the month, you can see if you notice any reoccurring patterns and adjust accordingly. On the right, I've done my habit tracker. I used initials at the bottom for each thing that I'm tracking and just listed what each initial represents on the right. I've left out a couple of things I tracked last month that I didn't find I was using, and you don't see it in the video, but I did colour alternate the lines so that it would be easier to fill out. Like you saw in the December flip through, I don't colour my boxes in for each time I track something, so it won't cause any problems. If you're interested in why I track certain things, I explain that in my December plan with me, so I won't go over it again here because I'm trying not to be too repetitive. And if you're wondering why I covered the writing with a post-it, it's simply because it stops the pencil marks I've made from transferring onto the other page. And I finished this spread because it's quite simple, I wanted to make it look a little bit more interesting. So I used that sort of drop shadow behind in the colour just to give it a little bit more something. And you can see here that slight smudging that I was talking about earlier. Next is my few lines a day page. This is where I give myself the 4 lines to jog my memory on what I did that day, and I make an effort to write things down that I enjoyed or that I'm proud of, even if it's something small, because it sort of reprograms you to look for the positives in life, and if you fill it out in the evening before bed like I do, it puts you in a good mood before you go to sleep. And I find that if I go to bed in a good mood, I tend to wake up in a good mood. I also found that even if I'd had a bad day, I could always find something that I enjoyed, and it just reminds me that you can find positivity of some sort in every day. I also moved this spread so that it's before my weekly pages, because it means that I haven't cut myself off from carrying on extra pages for the month if I want to add any. And because it's right after my mood and habit tracker, it means I don't have to keep flipping through all the pages every day to fill it out. I did a little sketch of Alice in the corner, but I didn't fill in her face because my artistic skills aren't that refined enough to do it justice, and I didn't want to ruin it, and I honestly don't mind it. On this page, I draw a little top hat for the Mad Hatter. I found this picture on Google and I just thought it was perfect. And if you can't draw, then you can always trace something into your bullet journal. I know not everyone has the time to do this, but if you really want to make your bullet journal more decorative and you're not confident in drawing, then that's an alternative. That's actually how I did the headers for each page, because I really struggle with cursive and fonts and calligraphy. A few people have asked if I would do a tutorial on the fonts I used in the December video, but I honestly don't feel qualified enough to teach you how to do that yet. But I am learning bit by bit. In all honesty, I think it's just practice. Other than making the downward strokes thicker, I don't really think there is a quick cheat. But my plan to improve is to print out different fonts and then just practice the shape of each letter. I will eventually start to learn how to do genuine calligraphy because it looks so pretty and I love writing, so it's a skill that I would use a lot. So I think it's a skill worth learning. But for now, I'm happy to cheat with tracing paper. This next page is my business tracker. It's pretty much exactly the same as in my December spread, except I got rid of those 2 columns that I didn't use last month. And now, to demonstrate what I mean by not being quite skilled enough just yet with the fonts, if you take a little look at the word tracker, is it just me, or does it look like could be a sort of a word that you wouldn't let your child say? We'll say no more about that one. Anyway, the next page that I'm going to be doing is for ideas that I might have for this channel. or if I get any suggestions from people of what sort of thing they'd like me to cover. So if you do have any suggestions or requests, please feel free to leave them in the comments, because I'd like to make sure I'm bringing you relevant content and the sort of things that you actually need. And I drew a little teapot that I found on Google again, and then just made that little cloud to write in. If you are wondering about what sort of pens I'm using to colour the spread, they are Tombow dual brush pens, and I will leave a link for them in the description. The next page I've titled Little Gems, which is the equivalent of what other people call a brain dump. I just really don't like the term brain dump. And it's just a place to jot down anything that you might want or need to remember at a later date. It's a good idea to check this page at the end of the month to decide what you want to do with this information, so that it doesn't get lost somewhere down the line at a time that you might need it. Unless, of course, it's simply general musings that you just don't want to forget. I'd love to know what you all call this page, because I can't find something that I want to stick with, so it would be great to have some ideas from you all. The right-hand page is titled This Month, and it's just all the things that I would like to do this month that aren't time specific. So if I've got a day where I have nothing planned, or I know I've got extra time, I can flip back to this page and pick something to add to the day's tasks. And I've made it into 4 sections so that I can divide it into different categories like work, home, and so forth. I'm going to be making a yearly goals/tasks page at the beginning of my planner. The first few pages are full of post-its to let me know what I want to eventually put there, so I don't mistakenly use those pages for something else. So when I make that long-term goals page, I'll be able to go to it and take some of those tasks or goals and put them in my monthly spread. And finally, we have my weekly layout. I'm really looking forward to using this because I think it will just work really well for me. I've always preferred to write in columns vertically rather than horizontally, because I just think the page looks nicer once it's filled out. And my brain seems to work better when things are presented in a list form. So at the beginning of every week, I'm going to check my monthly spread and see what needs going in that week. And at the top of each column, I'm going to fill out what has to be done that day, like appointments or tasks, all the time-specific things. And then in the morning each day, I'm going to fill in the rest of the things I want to try and get done that day. Kira at Boho Berry calls this a weekly/daily hybrid, and I think it's perfect because I do like to have my dailies, but I don't like having to flip back through to the right week. So it's all laid out in front of me at a glance. On the top right hand, I've written sections for morning and evening. I'm trying to get into more of a routine, because I think if I set myself up at the beginning and the end of the day, I'll give myself the best chance of being more productive for the rest of the day. So I'm going to write the things I want to do every day here, and hopefully, because I'll see it every day, it will be easier to follow and get into the routine, which will eventually turn into a habit. So that's the end of my January plan with me. I hope you all enjoyed it. As usual, I've left links in the description below for all the supplies I'm using. I also have a link if you want to find me on Instagram, and if you have any questions or requests, feel free to leave them in the comments. I know it's very close to January now, so most of you have probably already done your January spreads, but if you haven't and you decide to recreate anything from this video, tag me on Instagram in the description, because I'd love to feature your pictures in my next video. So that's it from me. I wish you all a very happy 2018, full of planning, productivity, and positivity. See you next time. Bye.